Okay, so first, I'm really happy that this is happening. I feel like watching it, well, just watching the trailer at the beginning, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be an amazing like TV series. And then watching it, it brought up so many different feelings for me. So I was like, I bet everyone feels the same, and this is a good opportunity just to talk about it together. So just before we start, I say let's really try to just remember together what were the two episodes. We're going today to talk about we're not going to talk about specifically the scenes of what happened, but we're going to talk about the main, you'll see during that conversation, but like the main topics, the development of the story, and then next week we're going to talk about like the rest of it. So who remembers how the series starts and wants to, it's a discussion, so let's just like share it. I can say it, but yes, go ahead.
I did not know anything about the Arab. We had closed captioning on so I could see the translation, that it was italicized. And then I didn't even know till after the episode, and my mom first told me about it on the phone, and then we Google searched it. So I'd like to just know a little bit more about like the physicality of a wire, but then also is there like an imaginary thing too? Like just because the wire was down, I didn't know why they couldn't leave.
So the Eruv, whoever doesn't know, I hope that like I will explain it as best as I can. Jeremy is here; he can correct me if I'm wrong. It's just a thin a wire that is kind of blocking the edges of the neighborhood, because very Orthodox people, they can't carry stuff during Shabbat. It's part of the thing you're not allowed to do because it's like too much work or like too much effort, and as you don't like do electricity and you don't work, so you can't carry stuff. So the roof is kind of limiting the area that you can carry stuff, and if you are crossing this area, so it's already work. Like if you will carry your things farther than this area, so you already put too much effort in it and you can't do it anymore. It's like Chilul Shabbat, like your, So when the roof is broken, people can't tell where the limits are, so they just don't carry stuff. That's why the women were stuck at home with the babies, because they can't even carry I don't know how you call the thing with the babies with.
They couldn't push the stroller.
Yeah, the stroller. But that was the situation. So I hope it answered your question.
Yeah.
So because she was trying to carry the bag with her belongings, she couldn't carry it. And that's why she stuffed it in her waistband, right?
Yep.
Yes. So that's how the episode starts. Esti's trying to run away. She's trying to take her stuff. The roof is broken, and like the women there are like, what are you doing? You can go. You can take your stuff. Just so she doesn't have kids. She's running back, putting back her stuff, and she's leaving. She's running away. That's how the episode starts. And I think the first thing that is really interesting to talk about is what is she running from? Like watching the series, there are so many things that you can like think it's her motive, but what do you think was her main reason to run away?
For her own independence, or for her to have the ability to make her own choices.
Yeah.
Her mother-in-law.
What? Her family? Her mother-in-law?
Mother-in-law, yeah.
You think it was like the unhappy marriage, or like really just because she didn't fit in, or that she...
I think she had so many like interests and curiosities that she thought would kind of calm once she was satisfied with this life that she pictured for herself, and they just grew and grew. And I think she just wanted to be able to like live and explore them.
Has anyone read the book?
Yes.
I did.
I did too.
A couple of years
so
ago.
It was very different. Very different.
It was very different.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of hard for me to and I really enjoyed the show as well, but it was kind of hard for me to see the show and to have read the book and to see all of the vast differences between the two, because I read the book a couple of years ago as well.
And I think they were trying to make it different in purpose.
Yeah, and that's what they said on, I mean, it comes later, but the making of the show. But I agree. I think it was her, searching for her freedom and wanting to do something different, and being so different from everyone else, she felt the need to escape because she didn't want to be the same as everybody else.
Yeah.
I honestly thought it had a lot more to do. I mean, that it had more to do with the marriage being an unhappy marriage, or just, and if I wonder though if like the marriage was better if she still would have left to pursue other things.
I felt that, at the beginning, when you see the flashbacks, she like, for most of the time, really wanted to be normal. Like, she wanted to fit in. She really hoped that getting married and having a baby will make her like part and make her feel that she's part of this community. And after everything she was going through, eventually she realized that nothing is going to change it. If the baby is not going to change it, and that she's going to be she's going to stay. So that's like something that I was thinking about. Because it was like a really, what do you think was the turning point in her journey? I think it was the divorce.
I think the turning point was when she found her friends in the symphony, and that basically became her turning point. She ran away to Germany to meet her mother. When she saw that her mother wasn't exactly the stereotype that she thought of as her mother, I think she turned away from that, and she automatically seemed to find this beautiful symphony group. The music was what turned her into thinking of a different way of life, perhaps a different way of life, something that she had always wanted to aspire to.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I think that seeing the outside world and how you could do this or that, or, different things on the outside that she never knew existed, kind of, made her realize that she was proud of her decision to leave and confident in her decision.
So you think that, you don't think that like they're running, like the point that she decided she's going to leave was a turning point? I feel like, once you made a decision and you run away, that's like the most dramatic part. That's how I felt. Maybe, yeah, it's interesting. Anyone else? Any more thoughts about it? Okay, sorry, just all my questions here are locking down all the time, so that's why I'm looking at my phone. Okay, something else that is really interesting that I was thinking about is, what do you think was the motive to bring her back?
I think it was like to maintain order and authority. And I think that's what was so like upsetting about the way they pursued getting her back, is that it wasn't about their marriage. It didn't feel like it was about their marriage. It felt like it was about the way this would look to everyone else, and that this sets a bad precedent and she can't do that. And yeah, I don't think it was relational as much as it was like institutional.
You don't think that there's like a worry about her specifically?
I didn't feel that. I'm sure there is, I'm sure there's care and love in a different way, but it felt like a control thing much more than a like concern for her well-being type of pursuit. But maybe it just looks that way.
But after that last family meal, he came back to the apartment and he was asking for the divorce. he would not even look at her in the face. He kept looking down at the table when he was talking to her. And then I think when he went through her room and found the phone and then got the voicemail, I think that was a turning point too.
For him.
So not so much did he want her, he wanted a baby.
I think that he wanted the baby. I felt about him that he, as long as she was there, it was his mom talking like from his, mouth. He didn't really speak and said anything that he was thinking. He didn't have his own opinion about anything.
And they really never made eye contact. He would always look down when he was talking.
Exactly. And then suddenly, and he always was like, my mom said it. My mom think that. My mom told me that. And suddenly when they sat with the rabbi at the table, he protected her. Like that was the moment that he was like, she's my wife. She's doing that. She's doing things right. She's like, I felt like something there when she left, something in his head was like, okay, probably I did something wrong. Like she was not happy with me.
He said that at one point, didn't he say that like, I did something wrong, she's not happy with me? Did he say that at the very beginning when she left?
Maybe.
I think he did.
Yeah, there was a conversation about it. Yeah, and like you could see that after he came with Moishe to her mom, everything that her mom said to him, he was like, I never thought of that. Like, I never thought that I need to make my wife happy. I never thought that I need to ask her if she's feeling well, And he kind of like, he went through this process of, change. But I also feel that when you see the situation, when they decide she has to go back, each character had a totally different motive to bring her back. Like the family wanted the baby. I felt like he kind of also wanted his wife, and like the rabbi didn't, like Reeve said, like didn't want it to be a bad example for the community. So like they all kind of wanted the same thing from different reasons.
I'm only at the end of episode 3, and I know you said we only want to talk about 1 and 2. So I don't really know much about any coming back. Like I said, I watch where she is nowadays, like on her interviews, the Deborah Feldman herself. But my question is about Moishe. In what I can remember, and I'm trying to keep it to just episode 1 and 2, they allude to his having broken away and coming back. Is that why he is in the role he's in, or is he just a cousin to Yankee? I mean, I can't remember that part.
Well, I just said we didn't say that she's coming back. We're just talking about why they decided to go look for her.
Oh, okay, to get her. Okay. So, but why is he tapped for this?
I thought that it was because he was like kind of like tough, like
a ball buster. Yeah,
that's what I thought. But yeah, they did allude to that he like left and then was brought back as well. Okay. So maybe that was part of it.
Is that a bigger part in the book or not at all?
No, but they also said that he lived in Berlin before, so he knew that area.
Right, and I get that he's more Americanized and worldly, and the internet and all of that. I understood that part, but I just thought maybe it was going to come to light that it had to do more with he had seen the other side and then
I think
returned.
He escaped by himself, like ran away by himself and came back in some point. That's what I understood.
Okay.
But it also said that he was
I believe that his experience will first give him more motivation to bring her back, because they were like, if you're going to bring her back, this will help you to open a new page. So like it will give him more motivation to bring her back, but also will kind of help him identify with her maybe and her to come back.
Okay.
I kind of thought they wanted him to do it just because they felt like he still needed to redeem himself, which is pretty much along the lines of what you said. That, just kind of for that reason.
You think they knew that he has the gambling problems?
I didn't hear your question.
Well, I just heard asked like let someone there know that he had like gambling problems and like all this stuff, or it was just something exciting.
Shannon Kapler and Weiser, Ross.
I don't think so.
Oh, is this like a Memphis?
Yeah. Jackie? Okay.
Hey, sorry I wasn't muted, but I was now.
Well, it's okay. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Oh, now we can see you. Good.
Yeah, but I'm in the car, so it's dark.
Quarantine in the car.
Yeah.
How are
We're good. Well, I was just about to bring up a question. So we're thinking about like what was the motive to try and bring her back and like try to go look for her. And we're saying that like it was some stuff were about like the family and like bring back the baby. And the rabbi at some point, I wrote it down. He said, we can't let our people lose their way. It sets a dangerous precedent. So he was like, he doesn't want it to be a bad example. We said that as well. And I was wondering if you think that these are the also kind of reasons this kind of community, like the Satmar community, other communities that stay isolated from kind of the rest of the world, if these are the same reasons for them to stay isolated, or what do you think is like the idea behind that way of life? Because I couldn't really crack it.
I think it is definitely a way to keep everybody in a community that won't be soiled by the regular world out there. I think that is the primary purpose of this community, having grown up after World War II. They felt that if they kept they were in America, they could therefore keep their community tight and they could keep their community together. And the way they could keep a community was by having the children born into the community and raised in the community to carry on.
Do you think it's like fear?
More than here. I think freedom of choice was not in there. It was not, especially for women, was probably not in their idea of the community. It's truly a fundamental idea of it's a chauvinistic community where the women have their purpose, which is to raise the children and have the children, and the community is to be, look to the rabbi for whatever decisions need to be made.
Yeah, I think it's definitely about like control and tradition, but not tradition in kind of the way we think about it, but, controlling the way the rabbi wants everything to move forward. And, they really talked a lot about, and I don't remember when this was or if it was, in the book or what episode, but about, rebuilding and replenishing the 6 million lives lost. And, I think using women as a means to an end and really focusing on the control aspect of it. And so I think bringing over all of those traditions that, Jews had that were lost with the Holocaust. So I think that was a big part of it as well.
I was watching one of Deborah Feldman's interviews, and she was explaining how one of the reasons why the community is the way it is because they feel that because they assimilated into regular culture is why before the Holocaust is why the Holocaust happened. And so so now they have this like tight community to go back to their roots so it doesn't happen again, or kind of make up for it. So
like to stay away from harm, or what does she mean by that's why the Holocaust happened?
that that that's because they became part of the regular because they assimilated. I don't know. They just seem to think that that's why that because they assimilated was why like
Into society.
Right.
I think the rabbi said that they had like I think it was Passover they had like this meal, and the rabbi said he was talking about I think he was talking about the Seder and like about, and he said that that's what happened to our people every time they try to become part of the rest of like the society. I think it said it in this TV, like in the series as well.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I read something somewhat. I think it was the word she said. The Hasidic isolation is a refuge from the world that has continually been hostile to Jews. She said it in one of the interviews that I saw. So, yeah. Any more thoughts you want to share?
Well, that's kind of I don't know, like a helpful perspective, because it like so much of it seems so nasty and heartless, and to think about it from that point of view is really, I guess, just it's like very protective, not just controlling. So that's interesting.
I think it was hard to watch that and remember that they're not trying to harm like people.
Right.
Unity really believe that that's the way, like that's the way to keep their people safe, and maybe not just the world, Okay, so I'm gonna send me someone wants to share a screen. Somebody, is it? Oh, here. It's a really interesting article about it. I think it's the only, can y'all see it?
Yes.
Yeah. So it says, I left the Satmar Hasidic community. Unorthodox is a grossly inaccurate depiction of the world. And it's really interesting. I will send you the link, and I really recommend to read it, because like I think it's the only review that I saw that is negative about the show, but it also represents, like, it brings up a lot of really good points. And I think that I want to show you one part. Okay, this part. So if y'all can read it, and then I was wondering what you think about it. But I found it really interesting.
I don't feel like she's missed popularity in the new world. I feel like that she found some people who were nice to her, and they're trying to understand where she's coming from. I definitely don't feel like she's missed popular at all.
Yeah.
The other part is you're not going to get a full picture of somebody in a 4-episode TV. So I think to try in 5 sentences sum up who she is, this person tries to sum it up with 5 sentences, 4 episodes that really should have been a lot more than 4 episodes if you wanted to know every detail about her.
And she didn't have difficulty connecting with anyone. She connected with her piano teacher and her grandma. And I mean, she had meaningful relationships with people before Berlin.
It might just be easier. When I read it, I was just like, for one, I was like, yeah, there is a difference. But also, I just think that she felt so much loose, like being in like outside of the community. Like she had kind of like this kind of fear to really be herself and like to open up there, because it's not something that is accepted. And that once she was outside of this community, she just kind of was easier for her to open up. And it's not like a miracle happened.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree. You know, she felt smothered in the community that she was in. That's why she left. So who she was in that community wasn't who she is outside, because she's herself outside the community and in Berlin. So for them to say that like she's two totally different people, that's kind of the whole story.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll show you one more part. In this article, she's like pointing out a lot of things that are like, how do you say that word? Inaccurate in the show, like a lot of small stuff about the community, the Stadtmer community and the way they live, like she lived there as well. So like from her experience. And eventually she's closing up and she's saying this. And like, if you can read it and just tell me what feelings the show brought you about like the ultra-Orthodox world. Like, do you think it really creates antagonism? I thought that way in a few points.
Well, I did have to think, and like I said earlier, I have been watching a lot of other YouTube segments, whether with her or Oprah had a next chapter episode. I can't seem to find the whole thing, but I'm seeing sound bites. I was tripped up watching it with Etsy and some of the others' accents. And then at one point she makes the comment, I've never lived anywhere else. I've never been outside New York City. So to have to think, oh, she's lived her whole life in this little, square area of Brooklyn, but she sounds like she's from somewhere in Europe with her, Yiddish Hebrew accent. That made me, I had to keep thinking about that. And also the same with the episodes. I really hope it's in episode 2, where she's shopping in Berlin. Mm-hmm. And then back to, I think, Janet's point a minute ago about like her confidence, like all of a sudden she puts on jeans and a blazer and she's strutting down the streets. And I don't feel like that is probably her authentic self, but in 17 years or 19 years, however old she is, she hasn't ever had that experience. So they just had to show it to us in a really quick segment of one episode. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that she also said in her one of the interviews, she said that from her real stories, where like Deborah said that she was really trying to make her appearance like change really quickly. Like she was trying to do that. Like more skin and like to do all these things. I think we really felt that in the
and definitely send that to us or we'll look it up.
I will. And just I'll bring it back the question of like, what feelings did the show gave you about the ultra-Orthodox, maybe specifically the Satmar community, their way of life?
I mean, her in-laws reminded me of my ex-in-laws, so, and they were not Hasidic, so. I don't think it puts I don't know. It's just, I mean, I didn't, of all the like different documentaries or movies or TV series I've seen about the Hasids, I've never thought, I don't think any of them have ever made me feel negative about them. The only thing I don't understand is why the women shave their hair, and then wear a wig. But that's kind of beyond me. Like, why don't they just wear a wig, and not shave their hair? But
I think it's specifically for their community. Like, I read about it.
it's just because I thought the idea of wearing the wig is so only your husband sees your hair, but if you shave your head, you have no hair. But other than that, I mean, in some ways, I think I admire them that they can, stick to, their beliefs so easily. Well, except the fact that they don't educate that they don't get a secular education. That I don't 100%. I don't think is so good. But I don't know.
I'm kind of surprised by this thing about them being all good or all bad, because I thought that was one of the things about the show that was well done. I mean, I've watched the whole thing, so I'm trying to see if I thought this at episode 2. But I thought that, I don't know, like, I felt for her husband, I felt for her grandma. Like, I thought that they made it, like, you could understand why they felt the way they did. Even Moishe, who was a bad guy, like, he wasn't all bad, I don't think. So I'm kind of surprised. I didn't see it like this. That's like one of the things I liked about it, is that it wasn't like good and bad. It was just like, this is in a context, this is like a way to live,
Yeah, and you don't think that it might bring up antagonism toward like ultra-Orthodox communities?
Well, I mean,
we are like a Jewish community, so we can understand even like a bit of it, but like, think about people that watch it and have no idea what kind of glimpse to the Jewish world they get. I wonder just what it makes them.
I mean, I would think that if a non-Jewish person is watching this, they would somewhat equate it to things that we've seen in the news before about different church following organizations, where they basically like brainwashed the people, and they think this is the only way, and it's kind of a live or die almost situation. I feel like some parts of the Hasidic movement, it is somewhat brainwashing, and that's how I think of it, because the best part of Judaism is to be able to think for ourselves and do things, but they don't have, or at least the way I understand it, the women don't have that. And so I think as a total outsider of the Jewish community, they would look at this as like the elder generations are, brainwashing these younger generations. You're born, this is what you're kind of told you're going to study. The boys are going to study, and the women are going to make families and take care of the house, and that's just how it is, period.
They don't know any different. Like, that's how they were born and raised. Like you're saying, they don't.
Right, but I'm saying if an outsider was looking in, how's that much different than like what happened in Waco, where these people follow somebody because they can't see outside of that world.
Yeah. It's a lot like, I don't know if you've seen this show. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it. Allison can help me out. She's seen it. But the polygamist community. And it's like these people are helping them escape, and these people come out and
Escaping polygamy.
Escaping polygamy, yeah. And they help them, come out, and they say to them, don't you know Warren Jeffs is in jail for the rest of his life? And they're like, no, he's not. He's coming back, because that's what they've been told. They know no different.
Right.
And that's,
And I mean, I'll be very honest. I have cousins who are Hasidic, and they don't consider me Jewish because I grew up Reform, but they consider my mom Jewish because she grew up Orthodox. And so, I had a whole different take when I read the book, and it's actually why I read the book. And I had my mom read the book as well, but I had a whole different take when I read the book, and then when I watched this, because, it's like, I see it as, you know, I have some family members who are in this, and it's hard for me because it's a whole different level for me. Why don't they consider me Jewish? Well, you know, is it because I don't do the same things they do every day? And then, you know, it helped me understand their, I guess, way of life better and their understanding. And then, you know, to the whole point of why, you know, do they live the way they do? But then again, it's like, I don't know. I guess I see it kind of how, you know, other people see it, where I see it kind of negative. But I do. I see it kind of negative.
Did the show change your opinion or your perspective that you had before you watched it?
Not really. I definitely understand a little bit more, but I mean, to me, when I read the book, I was, I'm not going to give away the ending, but I was surprised by some of the things that I didn't know, like the, you know, no books, no music, no anything like that. And so that, you know, was very upsetting to me, because I think that it's very important to know, you know, what's going on. And I think that's a way to help people know what's going on as well. So, I don't know. I had a different take, and it was a different reason for me reading the book.
I have a question. I'm just curious. Do most people in that community in Williamsburg, do the men work or do they just study? Like, how do they provide for these large families? I'm just curious. Does anybody know?
The government does.
I don't think the government does. Does.
My cousin's a lawyer. That's all I know.
I think they have their own businesses, you know, they have their own school, they have their own like stuff. And I read that they are trying not to get help from any other Jewish institute. So I don't think they're supported by, you know, federations and stuff.
I guess they take care of each other.
Yeah, that's what I think. But I think they mostly study. But it is an interesting point to read about. Like I started reading about all their history. It was so long, and I kind of lost it eventually. But it's really interesting to read just about it.
Have any of you seen that? There's a documentary called One of Us.
It's a suggestion when I finish this. So.
Yeah, I wanted to after my mom found it on Netflix after watching this.
Yeah.
I've watched it, and I watched it prior to watching the show, and watching the show, I was listening to you guys talk about your feelings towards the Satmar community, and I think mine are a little bit more that I don't like them a lot more than I think a lot of y'all were saying, solely based because of that documentary. There's a lot more given in that documentary of stuff that goes on in the community that's not shown in the television show.
But in the beginning of that documentary, because I actually started to watch it today and realized I watched it years ago or a couple of years ago. But in the beginning of it, am I correct? Weren't they saying something about how a lot of the people in the community get like subsidies from the government, or they get something?
I don't remember them saying that, but they could have. I don't remember. I do remember saying a lot of them, like you guys were talking about, they take care of their community. So, you know, the lawyers are only lawyers for the community. The doctors are only doctors for the community. The teachers are only teachers for the community. I do remember them talking about that in the documentary.
But like they have to pay for housing and furniture And food, I don't get, to Jennifer's point, where that all comes from.
So, like Meitav said, they do have some of their own businesses, and some of them are outside of the community. When my family moved here in 81, 82, before Ricky's Cookies existed, my father would order huge amounts at a time because he would stick them in freezer over time, but he would order cookies and challah from a bakery in New York on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. The owner of it is a Satmar Chassid. And I can tell you, I remember times going, though, as a child when we would visit New York to visit family and we would go to get stuff. And he was, I have such fond memories of him. Really nice guy. He knew. My father didn't have a long beard. We didn't have payas. He knew. He knew we were not from that community. And to this, well, now the bakery closed a few months ago. But when I used to go as an adult to visit, and I would go in, and if he was in the bakery, he would come out and he still remembered me. He remembered my father. So yeah, they do have their own businesses. I think it's also important to remember, and I think even from the article, Meitav, that you shared, there's, even within a community, there are going to be differences in people. Not everybody, even in one extreme community, is as extreme as their neighbor is. He probably had a lot of those same beliefs, but he was also very open to another Jew who came in who clearly did not practice Judaism the way that he did. So I think it's also important. When they made this series, they went for a specific idea that they were going for, that they wanted to present. They know that I'm sure they know that it presented a pretty one-sided, idea of them, but it's not their job to defend anyone to do. They were out to, present what they wanted to present.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Was the store in Williamsport, the bakery?
It was in Williamsburg. It was the Lower East Side of Manhattan. It was Moshe's Bakery. Rent got too high, so within the last year, he had to close up shop.
My 14-year-old son, he doesn't have any idea that that's how some Jewish people practice and live. He didn't watch it with me. He assumes everyone's like what he sees here in Memphis. He hasn't been exposed to that. Not that I've hid it or anything, we just haven't had the exposure to it. I grew up in Houston. We had a very active ultra-Orthodox community, and they'd be out in the streets marching. I knew what it was. I saw it. I probably should let Mark watch something he should know that not everybody's like us and how, what we believe is different.
Yeah. There are really different ways. And okay, I had something, of course I have to ask about the Israeli person in the in the story, but how the way that Yael, like the Israeli musician, the way she treats Esti, how it made you feel. And I will follow that already, this question, how it made you feel. And also, join us next week.
I will. Wait, is Yael the
Israeli girl?
The Israeli girl.
Pretty vocal about her opinions.
Yeah, and what do you think that she represents?
I'll let you guys tell me. Bye.
Bye.
She wasn't warm and fuzzy like the other ones who truly wanted to get to know her better. I just thought of her as a little more rough around the edge.
I thought she represented more the Zionists, where the Hasids are anti-Zionist.
What?
The more that just more the because okay, so I thought Yael was more represented the Zionist, where and the Hasids are kind of anti-Israel. And so I thought there was a little bit of that Yael had the perception that, or just maybe had a dislike for the Hasids because they're anti-Zionist.
Well, I think that's specifically the Satmar community, not all the Hasidic community anti-Zionist. It's specifically them.
Okay.
I felt like she was treating compared to the other people, they didn't know what is an ultra orthodox, like you said about your son, Jennifer. Like they didn't know it exists, so they were like super interested to learn about her. She was like this sweet alien that just got there. But I felt like Yael, because she was from Israel and she was Jewish, she felt like she knows her story without really get to know her. And she kind of allowed herself to judge her real quick, much quicker than. And I just wonder if you think that it represents like a bigger crowd of people that kind of think they know. We sit here and we talk and like, we don't like that, the way they live and blah, blah, blah. And like their baby machine, she told her that. And I wonder if that's like, she's representing that part that we'll never like really understand what's going on, but or maybe it's just her. Maybe it's just her character.
She's like afraid to let her guard down, and maybe it was somewhat of a building her trust up with her.
Maybe.
Because even the young men told her, hey, kind of like be a little nicer. I don't remember how it was worded, but I mean, it was obvious that she was being a little rough.
Yeah. Anything else? I think if somebody wants to bring up something, still have a few more minutes. Okay, so before you go, I'm going to send you all the link for the article that I showed you in the chat. So if you want to open it and read it, it's interesting. And then thank you for coming and joining this conversation. Really interesting to hear different opinions.